Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Transplant's Tale. And this time, no, we're not painting over because I am the guest. I know on my trailer, I mentioned that I never moved to the city of Philadelphia, and we get into it. Well, we're getting into it today. So, I'm just going to give you just a brief synopsis of my story because fitting 7 years into 30 minutes is, it is what it is. So, we're going to get a little bit into it today, but just stay tuned. Follow the Instagram, and we'll hear more as time goes along. So I, in 2016, graduated from college and decided that I wanted to go to another place. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in 2016, but I think I was right where I was supposed to be. I ended up staying an additional year, doing city year in Little Rock, Arkansas, where I went to school. After that, I decided that I wanted to go to Atlanta because they had another opportunity for me there, and I was going to get my residency, and I was going to get my residency there, go to get my master's there, and all that. Mind you, before then, I told myself that I did not want to get a master's unless somebody else paid for it. But I was like, you know what? Let me just try it. I can get my discount getting my residency there. But the Lord said, remember what you said? And that plan did not work out. At the last minute, I found out after I had traveled, paid $800 for a ticket. I don't even want to think about it, but paid $800 for a ticket to do an interview and everything. And the opportunity ended up not working out the way that I planned. So at this point, I was home for a whole year. I was living with my mom, doing temporary jobs. I was blessed to have great, supportive family and family friends, one of which owned an accounting firm, and he was gracious enough to offer me a position to work there. So I worked there part-time, and I was subbing part-time, because remember I told you on the other episode, subbing is a great way, to just get acclimated to the culture, network, great opportunities, and then if you have a love for education, obviously we love the kids. So that was a great opportunity for me. But I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So it was great for me to be able to save up some money and figure out what was next. So even though the original Atlanta plan didn't work out, I still wanted to go to Atlanta. So I continued to apply. I either got, nothing or no's. But I was like, Lord, I don't know what we're going to do, but I need to move in August. I don't know where we're going to go, but, we're moving in August, whatever that plan looks like. So come maybe March, I got accepted to NYU. So I decided to go there, kind of check it out. And with the program that I was doing, you had to have either a part-time job or a full-time job, depending on how you were going to go to school. So if you got a part-time job, you had to get, you could go to the program full-time. If you had a full-time job, you can go to the program part-time. So I was applying for a full-time job because first of all, I had to afford living in New York. And then second of all, I wanted to just do the program part-time. So I went through that, but remember, I'm supposed to be getting it for free, and this was not for free. I got admission, not scholarship. So we had to continue through that process. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. Everything's going to work out because I have to move in August. So I went through and continued on with the process, did the interviews and everything, and I kept getting no after no after no. They were really nice about it, but it was still a no. So I was still working at the accounting firm, doing substitute teaching. And by this time, it's July, and I have not heard anything. And remember, y'all, I'm moving in August. I made a declaration. Me and the Lord were aligned, we're moving in August, but it's July, and I know nothing. So towards the middle, maybe, of July 2018, I get a call from an organization, and they are offering me the next round in an interview. So I was like, okay, finally, we're getting some traction. This segment of the interview was for me to teach a class. So I need to find a classroom. Yes, I'm a substitute teacher, but I don't have that type of and it's the summer by now, so I'm not even in the classrooms. But then also, I can't just have these kids on the camera, because I'm not a full-time teacher. So I went to church because that's where your people are, that's where your community is. And I had some of the, like, the people that I grew up with, like, act as my students. And it was also the same week that they were preparing for Vacation Bible School. So one family friend was there because he was interested in, or not interested, but he was going to a meeting to prepare for Vacation Bible School because he was one of the teachers. So this is somebody that, I grew up like around him. So I'd seen him a lot, but we hadn't really seen each other in a while because we were going to different time services. So the fact that I saw him like that day that I was having my interview felt right. So he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I told him what I was doing, that the opportunity was in Philadelphia. And he was like, "When you get the job, not if." That's a word right there. When you get the job, then let me know. And I have a friend in Philadelphia who's also your sorority sister. So for those who don't know, I'm an AKA, but that's neither here nor there. But she's my sorority sister, and then I'll connect you all, and you can kind of just talk to her about next steps. So literally the day that I found out I got the job was the day that he was teaching. So I didn't even have to look for him. He was literally right there. I was in his class, and I let him know. He was really excited. We exchanged numbers. So that's the thing. Like, when you decide where you're going to move, like for all the aspiring transplants out there, somebody's going to have a cousin, brother, sister, roommate, friend, somebody, their pet groomer, somebody that they know that lives there. Utilize that connection, because that's going to make such a difference. Like, there's only so much that you can learn online. So having that person that's there already, especially a person like the person that I had who is willing to do drive-bys and kind of check out the area for you, like, both of them were such a blessing to me in this transition, especially with it being such a quick turnaround, because remember, we're moving in August and this is July. So I called her, we connected. She's amazing. She surveyed the areas for me. She was like, I don't know about that area, when I sent her some addresses, because I did some research online to like find addresses of different places. And she was like, I don't know about that place. Okay, let me drive by this place, because I haven't heard of that one. And so the place that I ended up staying, she had mentioned the parking. So I asked the property manager about the parking, but remember, the thing about parking is people are at work during the day when the property manager is there. So when it comes to the nighttime, of course, there's going to be a different parking situation that they're not there to witness. So, she didn't give the fully accurate, at no fault of her own, synopsis of the parking. So there were some days where I was waiting for like maybe 2 hours for a parking spot because it was time parking over there. And, like the time that it was, I didn't want to like park in 2 hour parking and move my car around. And then it was another, it was a lot of apartments on that block. So there were some days I would just be out with my friends. I'd be like, okay, y'all, I got to go home because I know this man leaves for work at 10 o'clock. So I got to be at home at 10 o'clock to catch his parking spot. So you got to get creative. You got to do what you got to do to make it. So everything worked out. And guess when I moved? In August. So my first day for training and everything was August 13th. So I was really excited about that, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. Like, I didn't know until July that that's where I was moving in August. So it worked out. I didn't have much to take with me. I filled up my little Chevy Cruze, and me, my mom, and my aunt took that 18-and-a-half-hour drive. So with the pack up, y'all, God is good. That's all I can say. I packed the whole car. We finished packing maybe, we'll say around like midnight, and I was like, okay, we need to go to bed because we're driving. We did not drive 18-and-a-half hours straight, which I'll get to that part in another, because that's it too. So we load up, and my car battery is dead. Mind you, I went to the mechanic 3 times. One, because I had to get my tires fixed, and then the other 2 just to like make sure from 2 different dealerships that they did the multi-point inspection, because I had wanted to make sure everything was good. So the fact that my battery was dead was wild. And then called AAA for them to come fix the battery, and they couldn't even get to it because it was corroded so bad. So the fact that everybody missed all this, and it's now 12 o'clock in the morning, the day that I'm supposed to be driving 9 hours, I was like, ooh, Lord. So thankfully, my uncle has a tow truck, so he was able to kind of move it because the garage door was open. Like the car was, I don't know if y'all can tell, but the car was like this, the garage was like this. So when we moved moved the car so we could at least close the garage. It started raining, my window was down, so we had to put trash back over the window. It was a whole thing, but we made it through. My uncle has connections. We were able to get a new battery, and we were able to get going. But by this time, it's like 3 in the morning by the time we like finally get all that process done, and then I have to wake up, make sure he puts the battery in. So I'm really not in a condition to drive. So I sleep, and we ended up, instead of leaving like in the morning like I intended, we ended up leaving at like maybe 4 in the afternoon or the early evening. And so I really wanted to like make it halfway. Like I wanted to do half the trip, which would be about Dayton, Ohio from Kansas City. So my cousin, who is like the king of transplants, he's driven, or, you know, like he's been all over the country for different jobs and different opportunities and things. And so he was like, don't book a hotel before, because I'm a planner. So I was like, okay, I know I'm going to stop at this point. This hotel is about halfway through. So I like had everything all out. But he was like, don't do that, because you never know like what could happen, like as you're driving and different things like that. So I'm glad that I listened to him, because with all this going on, I didn't know where I was going to stop, to be honest. Ideally, I really wanted to make it to Dayton, Ohio, because I wanted to get half the trip done so that I wouldn't have too much to do the next day, or wouldn't have to extend it past like the 2 days. But I was just like, Lord, just keep me awake, keep me alert, keep me energized, and let this be a wonderful and safe trip. So we went through. I was like, okay, we're finally ready. We get on the road. We're driving. It's like almost midnight on the day that I was driving in. And so I'm like, okay, it's time to pull over because I'm getting tired and I'm ready, you know, to stop driving. And so we pulled over. We were in Indiana, and we pulled over. It was 2 hotels like right across the street from each other. And I guess it was some type of convention or something in town. Both of those hotels were completely booked. So we get back on the highway. We don't see anything for miles on miles except like darkness. It's like we were driving into the abyss. Like obviously I had my headlights so I could see the road. Like we were safe. But the sides are like, it was like we were driving in an abyss. So we finally get somewhere, and it's like a mirage. You can finally see a hotel, and we pull in, we check in and everything, and guess where the hotel is? In Dayton, Ohio. So we really made it like to the halfway point. Despite everything that happened, like everything still worked out the way it was supposed to. So we get back up, we drive, and we finally make it to Philly, like maybe 9 o'clock the next day, like PM, you know, the next day. And so the only thing that was really open, because at 9 o'clock PM, you're like, I've been driving all day. I just want to pass out, and I don't want to think. So we ended up getting dinners from Fresh Grocer. And anytime I tell somebody from Philly that story, I was like, my first meal in Philly was Fresh Grocer. And they're like, why? Like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I know, I get it. It's, you know, it was a good meal to me. I was happy. I was content.
What you got?
I got some chicken, mac and cheese, and greens, which I probably shouldn't have been eating that late at night, but it was familiar food, and I was happy. So I was good. And it was enough, because I don't eat like a whole lot, so it was enough to last me like for lunch the next day. So I was set. Then we ended up staying in the Airbnb, it worked out well for us because it was Airbnb near the area that I wanted to stay in. So I think we had the Airbnb for maybe about like 5 days, and then I went to go see the places in person. So the couple places that, you know, we had narrowed down to between me talking with a friend on the phone and then just kind of like surveying and doing research on the areas, and up staying, going ahead and choosing the place that, remember I said I had the parking. So I dealt with the parking situation for as long as I could, and then ended up finding another apartment on Facebook Marketplace that I loved. Ended up moving out to buy a house, but that was a whole nother story for another day. But it was, the first apartment was in Germantown, which it was like close to East Fall, so I feel like it was like a nice area where it was pretty walkable. Like I could walk to Save a Lot, the post office, or not the post office, but like Save a Lot. Um, it was a Pizza Hut there. It's not there anymore, but it was like a Pizza Hut there. So I felt like it was a pretty walkable area, which I think is really important when you're like new to a space, to be able to like be somewhere you can access things easily. Especially with my parking situation, I didn't want to move my car too much unless I had to go to work. Um, so that was really nice and easy for me. And then I didn't even mention AmeriCorps was the program that I was doing. So I did City Year in Little Rock, but then here I did College Possible. So getting connected with, like, if you are young and you don't mind like being in a service oriented position, and basically like volunteering and getting a stipend, getting AmeriCorps is like a nice way to travel and have like a passion project. So getting connected with AmeriCorps is like great. I highly recommend it. Um, Even if you're not doing like a city year, like a college possible, like they have so many different opportunities on nationalservice.gov. So if you are looking to just go somewhere else in the world and you don't mind kind of like, living, differently, I would just definitely look them up and seeing like what opportunities are available to you. And so that was like that experience for me. So I was working at Upper Darby, so I drove up and down Lincoln Drive and City Avenue a whole lot. So that was definitely a difference for me. I feel like with when I lived in Kansas City, it wasn't roads like that. So navigating traffic and all the different types of people and drivers that are in Philadelphia, I think was something that I definitely had to get adjusted to. There's a lot more horn usage here that I was not prepared for. So I definitely had to like beef up my driving, my driving toughness to be able to navigate the main streets of Philadelphia. But now that I'm used to it, it's not too bad. I'm still not a big horn user, but I don't get as jumpy when I hear the horns either. So it's nice to. That's a nice transition for me. Since I was working in a school, I feel like that was a really interesting opportunity, especially working with the nonprofit organization in the schools. So we had such an interesting landscape and such an interesting network to be able to learn so much about Philadelphia from so many different angles because I was ingrained in that process. So learning like the language of the students was pretty fun. So like John, like if you follow the Instagram page, you may have seen like a couple of my Philly Say What episodes. So like John, I was like, what does that mean? Like, what is a John? And it's just a synonym of a noun, basically. A John is everything and nothing at all. So learning language and different things like that, I think was just kind of interesting and fun. Anytime somebody wants to visit me, they always want to, like try a cheesesteak. So I had to do like all the touristy stuff, like visit Liberty Bell and get a cheesesteak and all the things. I don't eat steak, for those of you who don't know, but I tried the chicken Philly. And there's a new place that I just tried that has like a cauliflower version. So for all you vegans out there, look into it. It exists. It's like cauliflower and like peppers and mushrooms and stuff. But it's, I like cauliflower, like kung pao cauliflower and buffalo cauliflower, but I don't know if I want a cauliflower cheesesteak. I'm also not a big bread eater, so but I do really, really, really like the chicken cheesesteak at Max's. That's my personal favorite. But come here and try it for yourself or do your exploration. But I just feel like Philadelphia is very different than Kansas City, but it's nice to be able to have easy access to the beach. It's funny because a lot of people think that the winters here are worse than they are in Kansas City, but I'm like, the Midwest to me has the coldest winters. Like, I've been cold here. I'm not gonna, it's true. I have been cold here, but in Kansas City, there's like negative degrees, and I haven't experienced that here. So the winters are not as cold, which is nice. And one thing I haven't been able to find here, though, is like good, solid fried catfish. I'm sure it exists. So if you live in Philly and you know where some is, comment below, please. Because that's like one thing I'm still looking for. Like, I think the food is different. I think both of them have good food options, but it's just different. Like, the seafood here is really good. So kind of exploring and navigating, even though I've been here for almost 6 years, I feel like there's still something new to learn every day. Like, I'm still getting connected with people. And speaking of connections, like, when I first moved here, I only knew the person that I talked to on the phone. So we actually got a chance to meet in person. And it was great hanging out with her. But I still wanted to expand my community. So I didn't have to depend on her for everything because she has her own family and, things she has to take care of. So I did want to find like other people that I can hang out with and do different things with. So I got on Google and looked up young adult Bible study. And that's how I was able to get connected with a group. And I just showed up at somebody's house, and that's where I met Jessica, for those of you who watched the first episode, and a lot of other people who I've stayed connected with, even though I've changed to a different church and gotten connected with other ways there. It's still been ways for me to great for me to get connected and have that foundation with those people, and they've been very influential, like, in my journey. One thing I forgot to mention was that opportunity with AmeriCorps is usually a service year. So it ended in June of 2019. So I started applying for jobs in February because I was like, that's why I moved. And for that opportunity, I was like, I've never been to Philadelphia, but if I hate it, it's only a year-long program and I could just move back home or move somewhere else. Like, I have time to figure it out. Just kind of do like a little trial and error, just, try something different. And so once that program ended, I've been applying since February, and nothing seemed to be working out the way that I wanted it to, whether it was the salary, or just, the different opportunities, types of jobs and different things like that. So I was unemployed for maybe like 3 months. So I went back to subbing because I wanted to, again, like, kind of build that network and build those opportunities. But the program that I did also had college partners. So I was like, let me tap into these college partners. So one of the college partners I ended up working for, and it was a great opportunity for me to get connected with them, and to be able to kind of have like that built-in system already of that partnership. So that was really cool. I definitely think networking is like the key to success, because when you send out a blank application, like, there's probably somebody who already has a network that they've connected and they have that word, versus like, you may look good on paper, but we know this person who is connected to this person. So having that networking opportunity is really great. Making sure that you get connected with people in whatever capacity it is, I think is really important. So that's my story. That's my advice. That get connected, stay connected, and just enjoy life. Like, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to talk to strangers because all the people that I have as friends now were once strangers, because I didn't know anybody in this city. And so it's just been I think I grew up I grew up in, I was raised in Kansas City, but I grew up, became a functional, mature human adult between my experience in college and then my experience now, because I had to navigate and learn things that, I never would have had to learn, in the incubator of my hometown. So that's not everybody's story. I think make the most of wherever you are. But if you decide to transplant, take advantage of it, talk to strangers, live your best life. So thank you all for listening to my story, and I hope to see you on the next episode of Transplant Sale. Bye. Thank you all so much for watching A Transplant's Tale. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.